Yo guys, what is going on? It is Catman227 here, and I am here with some more Overwatch content. I know it's been a very long time, and I told you guys I'd start uploading more, but I just don't have the time! Oh my god. Okay, but now I'm finally back. It's been a while, but I need to get started back in the groove of things, which I'm going to do today. Now, as you can probably tell from the title, I'm going to be talking about lore and theories that I come up with about Sombra in particular, because I've always loved this character, so I want to dive in more to her background, to maybe things that we thought we knew, and just stuff like that. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is something that not a lot of people really know, and that is her name, Olivia Colomar. Olivia Colomar started off as a little girl who was in because she was in Mexico, okay, and in Mexico the Omnic crisis was really bad there. It actually hit Mexico the hardest. So what I'm thinking is, since she, because this was in her origin story, when Mexico got hit the hardest, I believe she became an orphan, if I'm getting that correctly. I'm not completely sure about that one, but she started taking up hacking because she thinks, or, she's kind of right on this, that information is power. And the more information you have, the more power you hold. So what she does, she created a little glove and some little technology where she can hack into police programs, she can hack into almost anything, and then she feeds all this information to the Los Moretos gang, which eventually she joined herself. You can view that in her skin section, where she has a Los Moretos skin. She actually has two of them. And my dog's barking in the background. Sorry if you can hear that. But anyway, so Sombra joined the Los Moretos gang, and as she was doing this, she was actually hacking for the Los Moretos themselves. Now, eventually, Sombra got hacked herself. So she got cybernetic enhancements that you can see on her head, down her spine, and just things like that, connecting to her hand that she can then use to hack you. Now, she got these implants because as she was hacking one day, and this is another interesting thing I want to point out, if you look very carefully at the people who hacked her, it's a triangle with an eyeball in it. And I'm going to get into that a little bit later. But she actually went and tried to counterattack these guys. Because she didn't know, because for the first time she had got hacked herself. So she wanted to retaliate, so she got her cybernetic enhancements, which allowed her to do the things like invisibility, hack with just her fingertips, and all this kind of stuff. Where eventually she joined Talon, and she's a double crosser. So as she starts to look around and see who she's working with, she thinks that she can use these people to her advantage, which she kind of does in a way, but Doomfist, who is a partial leader of Talon, knows what's going on, and he knows that Sombra's doing this kind of stuff, and you hear Doomfist say she can still be useful to us. Now this is cool in a few different ways, because Sombra doesn't know that Doomfist knows this about her, if I'm getting that right. That might sound a little bit weird, but just bear with me here. She doesn't know that Doomfist knows what she's up to. And because of that, she's kind of ignorant and does things without really thinking through, because she doesn't really think a lot of things through, because she thinks that she's top dog, and nobody can put a stop to her plans, and no one even knows about her plans anyway, which is why whenever she goes to Volskaya Industries, she obviously blackmails her, and then Zarya comes after her and tries to do all that shit. But she That's like when she tried to blackmail her into, I've always wanted a friend like that. You know that video. You know the one I'm talking about. So I shouldn't have to tell you. But in Sombra's like actual reveal cinematic, that's what happens. And it's funny because, that's like her main weapon. Her main weapon is not her SMG or the fact that she can disable all of your shit. Her main ability is blackmail. Like, that is her main thing, which, I think is hilarious because, she can hack into shit so easily. But she blackmails her, and now she has the most powerful woman in Russia as a friend, she says. But I did think it was kind of funny how she pulled it off and did all that, and how she can kind of hack into all this technology. Now, these are some of the theories that I've come up with. Some of the theories I've thought about Sombra, and that's, where did she get her implants? Well, if you go back and you look at her origin story where she gets her cybernetic enhancements, you gotta wonder who gave that to her. Like, who did she go to in order to get these cybernetic enhancements? Well, this takes place way into the future. Way, way, way into the future. So, what I would assume she did was she worked with the Los Moretos. So maybe she could have got her cybernetics from the Los Moretos, like, because you know how there's always like in a gang or something like that. If you guys have ever seen Saints Row, where the gang leader goes to meet up with the other gang leader, and then there's the leader's girlfriend, and then the tattoo artist. So in a gang, there's always a tattoo artist. There's always a dude in the gang that does everybody's tattoos. Well, it could have been like that, but with cybernetics. So instead of doing tattoos, he does cybernetics and shit. Because obviously we live in a cybernetic world in Overwatch. So that could be another just thing. They could be using like that as an homage to the gangs in real life that have tattoo artists. But except here, it's not tattoos, it's cybernetics. That's one theory. Another theory is, since she's a hacker, she can hack into a lot of these like deep web, like dark deep web, whatever it is you want to call it, and hack into these social networks and find out, who's doing cybernetic, like illegal cybernetic enhancements and things like that. Because most of this shit's not legal to do, because you can hack into a bunch of shit, which is how she was able to hack into that giant mech in the Volskaya map. So she was able to like scrape the wall with her fingernails and then just kind of dig into the metal, which I actually figured those are not her actual nails. Those are just claws built into the glove, which is just part of the cybernetic enhancements. But anyway, how she grabs that giant hand which lifts her up. So it could be something like that, which, would make a lot of sense. Now, back to the lore. When Sombra got hacked, okay, this is what I wanted to talk about earlier. When she got hacked, you'll notice the symbol that came up on her computer. It's a triangle with an eyeball. Now, I'm going to go a little bit off topic here. We're not talking about Zenyatta, but I need to bring up Zenyatta for a second. So, everybody knows how Zenyatta has this thing that he calls the iris. He always goes on, like all the Omnics go on about the iris. We're all one with the iris, the iris, the iris, the iris, whatever. Well, let me ask you guys this. Do you know what an iris is? It's in your eyeball, right? The iris is part of your eye. So, they basically worship eyes. Which is funny considering Omnics don't have eyes, but you know what I mean. But they worship this iris, which, as we know in our time, is an eyeball. It's part of the human eye. So the fact that these guys got hacked, but well, these people, this whatever, hacked Sombra because she was sticking her nose in a lot of, because she hacks information. That's how she gets all of her power, she says, is that she gets it from just whatever she can find. She just hacks into people and steals information. Well, it would just make sense that she would piss off the wrong people. Now, who are these mysterious eyeball triangle people? Okay, I feel like it's the Vishkar. Because if you notice, I think Sombra hacked into the Vishkar because the Vishkar have a triangle for their symbol as well. So I'm thinking the iris is actually the Vishkar. And the Vishkar, which is Symmetra's people, they made the humanoid Omnics, such as Zenyatta and all those guys. Because if he worships them, because let's just say, this is just a theory, let's just say he does worship, the iris, or what he claims is an iris, or whatever like that. And this triangle with the eyeball in the middle, let's say that is what I'm claiming it is, and that is Symmetra's people. That would mean that Symmetra, or her company, which are the Vishkar, made Zenyatta Omnics. Now, this is a lot of information. This is very valuable information, considering not a lot of people really know, because I don't think it's really confirmed, or at least I've never seen any, because I don't really read the comics or anything like that, so I don't really know if it's confirmed where Zenyatta's type of Omnics come from, or who made them, or whatever like that. I don't know if that's completely confirmed, or if we know 100% who made them. But if I had to take a guess, from my lack of reading the comics, I would say that Zenyatta came from the Vishkar. Now, I went on a little rant about Zenyatta, but there's a reason behind this. Because wouldn't Sombra want this information? If the Vishkar made those Omnics, wouldn't she want that information? Maybe she was on to something, and got a little bit of information, just enough to keep her investigating it, and then dug a little too deep and got a little too careless, and that's when the Vishkar hacked her instead. Because they have, she was just a teenager in her room with a computer hacking shit. This is a whole corporate company that can do this shit. So Sombra decided it was time for an upgrade and to retaliate against them, which is probably the reason why she got her cybernetic enhancements, plus teaming up with Talon and trying to abuse them for whatever reason. Her motives are still unsure. Now, she is a double crosser and does steal a lot of information to sell on the black market. So, which if you go on the dark, I've never been on the dark web, but from what I've seen from other people doing reviews about the dark web, I'm assuming that Sombra will sell them on their version of the deep web or something like that. Like, she'll sell the information on the black market, and that's how she gets around. That's how she gets her power, as she calls it, which I find that very interesting. Now, Talon is a whole nother thing, because she joins Talon and then starts to use them. I don't really want to say use them, but what's the word I'm looking for? She's trying to, well, let's just go with use them. So she's trying to use Talon in order to, no, she's trying to manipulate them. That's what I was trying to say. She's manipulating them. Now, Doomfist is also on to her at the same time that she's doing all of this. So I feel like he's going to one day catch her off guard, and then that's what's going to be her demise. Now, why does she do the things that she do? Now, that's the big question. I've always wanted to know that myself. Why does she do what she does? Well, not because it can't just be the thrive to get power and money and all this shit. There has to be some kind of a motive. Now, one theory that I've seen going around is she might be working for Overwatch. Not necessarily for them, like she's not an official member or anything, but people say that it was, like, that reminds me of a whole other thing. Like, if you watch Soldier 76's cinematic video, there's that little Mexican girl in that village in Dorado. Now, I'm going to put a little disclaimer right here, okay? I will straight up make this comparison so people don't just be like, oh, that little girl is Sombra. No, she's not. Because Sombra's name is Olivia Colomar. Then the little girl that was in Soldier's video, her name was Alejandra. So the two names do not match up. Just straight up. So it's not them. And Soldier is already an old man at that time. Sombra is already an adult. Well into her adult years by the time Soldier's that old. So, again, the timeline just doesn't match up. So they're not, that little girl is not Sombra. But that doesn't mean Sombra didn't get her inspiration from Overwatch themselves. You know, she could have been a little girl when Soldier and Overwatch was in their prime and actually doing stuff before they disbanded. You know, back when everybody actually liked them. So maybe she saw that and saw the fall of Overwatch and thought maybe she could do something herself. Which is why but she was going to do it in her own way, if you see what I'm saying. So she would probably, you know, do stuff on the black market and do things Overwatch wouldn't do. And she does bad things, but in the sake of good, which is why I think she's screwing over Talon, why she's, you know, manipulating them and all that kind of stuff. Because if you know, she's manipulating, yes, but she also isn't really necessarily doing a bad thing. Like, she does bad things, but she does those things to screw over the bad people. If that makes sense. It's kind of like you do a little bad to make a little good, if that makes sense. So, I don't know too much about that one. That one's a little bit of a stretch, but again, just a theory, is a possibility. Now, another thing is like, maybe Alejandra, because Sombra could, maybe Alejandra could be a relative. You know, maybe that could be like a relative of Sombra. Like, we don't know Alejandra's last name. What if it's Alejandra Colomar? We don't know. But that's also another theory that's been going around. I've heard a lot of people talk about that. Now, what else really is there to talk about? There was something else I wanted to cover, but I don't know. I completely forgot. Because the Los Moretos gang is what I wanted to talk about. Because the Los Moretos, they have a lot of shit going on. I might actually just have to cover them in another video. Because there's still a lot to talk about with those guys. Because they hoard a lot of stuff. Like, if you remember in Soldier's video, they have like mini guns, they pull out of piñatas and shit like that. So they kind of look like pushovers, but I don't really think they're pushovers at all. I think that it's just Soldier being OP as shit. But we'll cover the Los Moretos in another video. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that little bell icon if you want to see more of this. And if you like this kind of stuff, let me know. And I will definitely do more. So, I will catch you guys in the next video. Later!